So the purpose of today is to raise awareness about the issues with women with textured breast implants, and in particular Allergan breast implants, which, as we know, have been recalled from the market. So to explain the legal options and the options available to women like yourself that have been implanted and don't know which way to turn and what to do if they're worried about any impact that may have had on them and any possibility of a future claim. So I want to thank you, Amy, for coming here today in order to help raise the awareness. I think it's taken a lot of courage for you to do that, and obviously it's a very sensitive subject matter, so we're very grateful to you for coming today and for joining us. I'm Lisa Lunt. I'm a solicitor with decades of experience in dealing with claims of this nature, and in particular defective medical products. So, and I've got a particular interest in women's health issues as well. So I'm here today to hopefully help with that journey and to explain the options available.
Thank you so much for having me. Obviously, I really appreciate being here. It's something I'm really passionate about and have experienced myself. So yeah, thanks for having me.
So Amy, why do you feel it's important to have this conversation today and to raise awareness?
I think it's so important to have this conversation and raise awareness just because obviously I've been through this myself and I found it quite traumatic. I still feel confused by it now. And I know from posting about it on social media that a lot of other women are also lost and confused. So I'm hoping that people will find the confidence to reach out and ask for help themselves.
Yeah.
Because people don't know what they have inside their own bodies.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you hope that women watching will take away from today?
I'm hoping that women watching this will take away confidence in being able to reach out and seek advice and help.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that more people will be aware of the problem and how to get help. I feel like I was shocked and lost when I found out that I had the textured implants, and I was confused on where to go and who to ask for help. And yeah, I hope that people will just be more aware and people can refer back to this and it can answer questions that I had that I didn't have at the time.
Yeah. So Amy, can you tell us about your experience and how this has affected you?
I feel like it's been a very long process. So I first had my implants fitted in 2015. And obviously you're aware about all the risks that are in place when you're having surgery and you think about it. And obviously like it's really important to consider the dangers and everything. Had the surgery done. I actually went back and complained afterwards after having it done because I wasn't happy with the procedure, and he sort of informed me that he could only enhance my features and not change them kind of thing. So I sort of felt after the surgery initially, I felt like they'd sort of taken my money and then disregarded me kind of thing. And luckily for me, I'd always said to myself, every 10 years I will have my implants replaced.
Right.
Back in April 25, so this year, I went for breast reaugmentation.
Right.
And when I woke up from my surgery, the surgeon informed me that he'd had to take tissue samples from my breasts because I had the textured implants fitted. And I had no idea that these had been recalled in 2019. So I had the implants fitted in 2015. They were recalled in 2019 and I'd had them inside my body until 2025, which was very obviously scary to wake up to.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for the surgeon to have informed me and let me know that that had actually happened. Obviously, when I got home from surgery, I tried to contact the clinic that initially fitted my implants. I was informed that that clinic had in fact dissolved. They didn't have any record of my surgery. I had absolutely no clue where to go, who to contact, how to find out what implants I actually had inside my body. So yeah, I feel like it really affected me, and I still feel traumatized by it now and slightly confused on how I went so long having these implants in my body and nobody felt the need to tell me about it.
No, I can understand that as well. It must have been terrifying for you. And also, it makes you think, well, what if I hadn't gone back to get augmentation? When would you have found out?
Yeah, I think I was really lucky because I had in my mind this 10-year every year to get them replaced.
Yeah.
I know people that have had their breast done and they've had the implants in for 20 years. And it wasn't until posting this on my social media that people started thinking, oh my gosh, I need to get mine checked.
I think that is a particular problem as well with clinics that have dissolved, because it's down to the clinics to contact the patients to let them know and make them aware about these recalls. So, that's even more unfortunate in your particular position.
Yeah, because I've been thinking to myself sort of like, do these clinics not have a duty of care to inform the patients that they've got toxic implants in the chest that have the potential to cause cancer? And people have died from having these implants in.
Yeah.
It's really serious, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. And they do have a duty is the answer to that. But unfortunately, in this particular situation, the clinic's dissolved. So along with it, I think has gone that duty.
Wow.
So yeah, I can see why you would be frightened.
Yeah, it's awful. Really awful.
So how did you feel when you found out about the risks linked with Allergan breast implants?
When I found out about the Allergan breast implants, I was absolutely petrified. I couldn't believe, I think obviously with the time scale, I'd had these implants in my body since 2015 and finding out in 2025 that they'd been recalled in 2019 and it was possible that obviously they can cause cancer. Yeah, it really affected me in ways that you can't imagine. At the time when I found out, my brother had just recovered from prostate cancer.
Gosh.
And my dad is going through cancer treatment at the minute. That's been happening for 2 years and it's ongoing. So yeah, the risk is high in my family.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh my gosh, I've got cancer. I must do.
Yeah.
I absolutely must have cancer. And yeah, it was really difficult to deal with and obviously wait for that result, which took some time. I just didn't know where to go or what to do, or I was honestly thinking like, how long have I got left kind of thing? Because you think the worst, don't you?
Yeah.
And obviously I did think the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. And it must have been a particularly tough time for your family as well. Knowing that, you had that risk hanging over you whilst also your family members have been touched by cancer.
Yeah. It's been such a big part of my life over the past few years, cancer, and I am petrified by it already. And then to be told there's a risk I could have cancer I sort of blame myself almost, because obviously there are risks getting surgery, but my dad and my brother sort of have cancer through no fault of their own, where it's like I've done this for vanity almost and I've put myself at risk. But if I'm honest, I didn't know or ever think that an implant could cause such risk to your body.
No.
Because if it can cause such risk, then why are we being allowed to put it in our bodies in the first place?
Yeah.
Is it just a big money making? Obviously, it's just a big money making scheme. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And I think if I hadn't have found out the risks, if I'd have found out the risks before having my second surgery, I don't think I'd have had the implants refitted.
Yeah.
But obviously I found out after waking up from my second surgery.
Yes. But obviously as well, it is a risk with these particular textured implants which Allergan were. So, had you been aware that was a risk, you presumably would never have gone ahead with the Allergan and would have opted for one that was smooth and didn't carry the same risks.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Why is there such a risk with the Allergan? Do you know?
It's something to do with the texturing of the implant itself is what we believe currently. So yes, it is particular to this particular implant.
And have they been totally discontinued? Yeah. Wow. Gosh, that's scary, isn't it?
What was the medical journey like for you emotionally and physically?
The journey for me since finding out I had the Allergan implants has been quite stressful. I feel like I've felt really lost and I've not really known where to turn. I feel like a lot of women have also been in the same situation as me. Obviously, I woke up from my surgery and I was just happy to be alive and was really excited to see my results. And instead of it being a happy moment, it was actually quite traumatic being told that I've had to have biopsies of my breast tissue taken because there's a risk that I could have cancer.
Yeah.
I felt like, I don't know, I sort of felt like, because I went abroad for my surgery, so I left the country that I had surgery in. Sort of the week later, I came back to the UK and I started searching for answers. So I went back to the clinic where I'd had my surgery performed, and they were absolutely no help at all, didn't have any of my records, told me that the business had dissolved. And then I just thought, what do I actually do next? Like, what do I do? And I ended up posting on my Instagram to sort of make others aware and to sort of ask questions myself.
Yeah.
But that made it clear that everybody else was just as clueless as me. And yeah, it's been really stressful and really worrying. And I still feel slightly worried to this day,
Yeah.
sort of thing. So yeah, I'm really glad that I'm here and you're helping me answer some questions because I'm confused and lost.
Yeah, I think that just highlights the importance of today as well, particularly because you felt like that, but also when you posted on your social media channels, there were other people who were equally scared and frightened and didn't know which way to turn. So I think that is, highlights why today is important and that you are here to raise awareness.
Yeah, I think it is really good what we're doing. And I think it's so important to raise awareness because there must be thousands of women that still don't know that they have these implants in their chest. And it's so worrying.
Yeah. So having listened to your concerns, what advice would you give to other women who might also be concerned that they've been fitted with these Allergan breast implants?
My advice to women that are concerned that they might have the Allergan implants in would be to ask questions. So firstly, I'd advise to go back to the surgery that performed the operation and ask what implants they have fitted. Obviously, you do get paperwork when you have this surgery done, but if you're like me and have lost it, which is very, very bad, you can go back to the surgery and find out. Obviously, in my situation, the surgery had closed down, the company had dissolved. They told me they had no idea what implants I'd had in. I then thought to myself, what do I do next? I then decided to ring my GP because when you do have the surgery, the hospital group have to contact your GP and give them all the paperwork. So I had confirmation on the exact implants that I had in from my GP. So don't worry if you have lost your paperwork, you can get answers. And I don't know, I feel like, what do you do? It's difficult. Once you've found out what implants you have in, I feel like you do need to seek legal advice. And it is very important because without legal advice, I think these companies that have dissolved, they no longer have a duty of care. And a lot of people aren't in the position to afford to pay to have the breast redone. It's very expensive. Like you're looking at maybe like £9,000 to have your breast redone. And I think that is the reason a lot of women do have the implants in for a very long time. And some women have had these implants in for maybe 20 years plus.
Yeah.
And I think my only advice would be to not panic because there's a lot of people in the same position that might not have cancer and you might not have any symptoms.
Yeah.
But it's always best to double check for your own peace of mind. Just get checked. And even if you don't have any symptoms, I'd say it's really, really important to just get checked.
Yeah.
Because you're better safe than sorry.
Has sharing your story helped your healing or understanding?
My gosh, yes. So sharing my story has helped my understanding and healing throughout the whole process. I feel like sharing my story and raising awareness to thousands of other women has just made me feel so much better. It's almost made me feel like I've had a purpose, and been able to help other women, I think, is so important.
Yeah.
Because I was so shocked to find out that I had these implants in my chest, like so shocked.
Yeah.
I had no idea I had been living for years with these toxic implants inside me. And I just thought to myself, how many other women are in the exact same boat as me?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until sharing it on my social media that I realised there is thousands and thousands of women.
Yeah.
And I just got flooded with questions and everyone was panicking, and I almost felt guilty that I'd sent a shockwave of panic. But at the same time, I just feel really grateful that now, obviously, me being aware, I've been able to make other people aware. And hopefully speaking to you today is going to make so many more other women aware. And hopefully maybe it will deter women from having the surgery in the first place. Because as I mentioned, if I'd have found out I'd had these toxic implants fitted before I went in for my second surgery, I don't think I would have had the second surgery. Obviously the implants I have in now aren't the textured implants, but they still do pose risk, as with anything we have in our bodies. But yeah, I do feel quite a sense of relief that, not that it's happened to me, but I feel grateful that I've been able to share my story and raise awareness because I have the platform to be able to do so.
Yeah.
Hearing everything that I've been through, and obviously the worries that I've had, and obviously thousands of other women have, what would your advice be to people in my position, Lisa, that obviously have these worries and don't really know where to go from a legal point of view?
Yeah. Well, my advice would be to contact a solicitor without delay. The reason for that is that strict limits apply to a claim of this nature. So many people don't understand that in order to sue a manufacturer in respect of a defective medical product, there's 10 years currently in England and Wales to sue the manufacturer. And that's from the date that the implants themselves are manufactured, not from the date that they were implanted into the patient. And that is a very strict time limit that we have to, we're up against in respect of any legal claim. So my first piece of advice would be contact a solicitor and don't delay. And then the options from there, the first thing that a solicitor would do would be to find out whether or not the claim is still in time. And then we discuss with you the possibility of suing the manufacturer in respect of the defective implants. And that would be a claim under the Consumer Protection Act.
That's crazy. That's actually crazy.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be able to.
No, so you said you were implanted in 2015, which means limitations most likely expired. It's something that I'm very passionate about in terms of limitation. So in Europe, they've just agreed to increase the time limit from 10 years to 25 years. Oh. So ironically, had it not been for Brexit, we would have benefited from this extra 15 years within which to sue the manufacturer. It is a real issue because quite often, as you've just discovered yourself, it can take years to find out that there's a problem with the implant. And that's not just necessarily related to breasts. It could be any kind of medical device that's being fitted inside you. It can take years for a problem to develop. Also years for then clinicians to relate the symptoms back to the product. And by that time, the clock is ticking, but the clock's already been ticking because the time limit starts from the date that the product was manufactured. So I have to turn away hundreds, if not thousands, of deserving clients every year.
That's honestly crazy.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's also really important, isn't it? Like, even if you don't have any symptoms, to get checked.
Absolutely.
Because the sooner you do it, the better.
Yeah.
Because that's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm actually gobsmacked.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit confused. Obviously, you mentioned that the limitation starts when the product was manufactured, but surely it should be from when the product was recalled in 2019. Like, how is that fair on, for example, myself, for it to be when it's manufactured? Because like I only found out in 2025 that I even had anything wrong.
I entirely agree with you completely. I think that the limitation rules in England and Wales need to be updated, and it's very important that they are, because so many people think that limitation starts to run for a claim under the Consumer Protection Act, either from the date that the products are implanted, which would seem a natural date perhaps, as opposed to the date that they were manufactured. Or, as you've just suggested, from the date that the problem is discovered. But under the Consumer Protection Act, it's very clear that the date starts to run from the date that the products were manufactured, or to put it another way, from the date that the products left the factory gates. But what people don't understand is that those breast implants may then sit on a hospital shelf for a couple of years before they're even used. So I've come across problems where I've been contacted by people with one breast that's in time and one that's out of time. And an interesting legal conundrum that presents in itself as well. So it is wrong, and I completely agree with you, but we are currently engaging with the government to try and get that time limit increased, because it's wrong and because it prevents so many people from being able to claim. And you might have two clients, one with implants that are one day out of time and they've had exactly the same injuries and they're not able to claim, and one that's in time by one day. And it creates this huge injustice and unfairness.
Wow. That's crazy. I'm going to start a petition.
Yeah. Actually. No, it's wrong. So I have actually attended Parliament, had meetings with MPs, and yes, to try and get this time limit increased.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I just think it just baffles me how we're all so trusting of these procedures, and it's actually so dangerous. Yeah. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
So Lisa, what kind of support can Fletchers Solicitors provide?
Well, my team and I are particularly experienced in dealing with issues of this nature. So in particular, defective medical devices, but also I've got a particular interest in women's health issues. So I'm well used to, and the team are used to dealing with particularly sensitive physical and emotional subject matters, such as breast implants or anything of that nature. So we're here to help advise you, but also guide you through the process, hopefully empathetically, and provide not just support from a legal perspective, but also from the emotional journey that you will embark on as well.
How does a claim like this typically work? So what stages are involved?
So in terms of the different stages that are involved, generally the first stage is the investigation side. So the very first thing that we need to do, because I've mentioned limitation, is to obtain the product labels. And then we send those to the manufacturer and find out the date that those particular implants were manufactured, so that we can work out whether or not the claim is in time or not. So we go through the initial investigation stage, we gather the medical records, find out if the claim is in time, and then we start to build the case. We obtain expert evidence, we write to the defendants, the manufacturers, and gauge whether or not there's any appetite to admit liability and settle the claims. And then if not, then we would then look at issuing court proceedings and taking the manufacturers through the legal court process. Generally, if there's a claim of this nature, it's normally a group claim because there's so many people affected. So we would normally apply for what's called a group litigation order, and the claims would be managed in such a way that certain test cases, so certain people would be chosen to run the cases through to trial, while the rest of the group sit back and await the outcome and watch to see whether or not those claims are successful. So it helps to manage the court time, but it's also quite an effective way as well to find out whether or not the products were defective and whether or not the court will say that the defendant, in this case the manufacturer, is liable and needs to pay compensation for the claims. It is just for the patient themselves or the victim. The claim is just in respect of them. So what we'd be looking to build is a case of similarly affected victims or patients or clients who've all had the implants. But I think actually the message that's important to get out is that we would be looking to help people, not just those that have developed the cancer, the particular cancer that's linked to these Allergan implants, which is BIA, ALCL, which is a type of lymphoma, but we'd also be looking to help people who've had the implants and want to have them removed for the fear of developing cancer. And that's something that we would help them with as well, because not everybody could afford to have the implants removed.
That's what a lot of people said to me. Like, what do I do? Where do I go? How did you get yours removed? But obviously I'd planned the surgery way ahead of time. But for people finding out that they've got these implants, what do you actually do? Like, who do you ask for help? It's a lot of money to spend. Yeah. Get them removed so quickly as well, because people are panicking, aren't they?
Yes, yeah.
So you help with that? Like,
well, the claim itself, if it was successful and they obtained compensation, then that would obviously then help them to then pay for the implant removal, and that would be an element of the compensation that we'd be looking to claim for them as part of the claim.
That's amazing. That's so helpful, isn't it? So you don't actually have to have cancer to pursue a claim?
No, and I think that's an important message to get out, that no, you don't have to have had cancer in order to make a claim. We're here to help people that have got these implants and want to have them removed for the fear of developing cancer at some point and waiting or not knowing if that's going to happen. So the claim that we could help them with would obtain compensation for them if successful, in order to be able to have the ability to have the implants removed.
A lot of women like myself would be worried about the costs of getting a lawyer involved. Can you provide some reassurance on this?
Yes, hopefully we could. That's understandable. So we would look at taking the cases on no win, no fee. So essentially what that means is, I mean, other than subject to some very rare exceptions such as fraud or something like that, we would, if you lost the case, then no fees would be payable at all.
Wow.
And only if the claim is successful, then we take a certain percentage out of the compensation that we recover as an element of a success fee at the end of the claim, if the claim is successful.
That's amazing. You sort of feel like when you find out that this has happened to you, you sort of feel a little bit trapped and lost. And I think a lot of it is money worries, like, how do I afford to get them removed? How do I afford to ask for legal advice? And I think the no win, no fee way of doing things is just like an answer to everybody's prayers. Like, amazing.
I would agree with you there, because otherwise it gives you the ability to pursue a claim that you would never ordinarily be able to pursue, and particularly a claim against a large pharmaceutical company. They have very deep pockets and they have a huge amount of money behind them to be able to fight these claims. So it gives women like yourself and anybody else that's been affected the ability to pursue these big pharmaceutical companies so that they don't get away with it.
Why is emotional support as important as legal support?
So at Fletchers Solicitors, we recognise that when you're dealing with claims of this nature, this isn't somebody who's come with a defective product such as a kettle or toaster. This is somebody's health. And the legal process in itself can be very daunting, and we recognise that. But when it's your health as well, that creates heightened sensitivity around it. And obviously, sometimes when we get clients, they're also very emotional as well, because like yourself, they might be worried that they've got cancer or about to develop cancer. So sometimes we become a bit more like counsellors as well as, lawyers, and we do develop good relationships with our clients because we recognise the journey that they're going on. And in particular, I know I do, because I have a real focus on women's health issues and a real passion in that area. So that's something that I always try and drum into my team, is to recognise that this is difficult legally, but it's also difficult for the clients emotionally as well, and that we ought to be there to, for them in that sense. If they've got any difficult questions or concerns about the health, we just try and do what we can without stepping outside the sphere of, our particular area of expertise.
Yeah, so it's like not only are you there for them sort of legally, you actually care about your clients, which is really nice.
Yeah, and in particular, the outcome. We're all very passionate about the outcome and making sure that, we'll do what we can to get clients justice, particularly in these situations.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the cancer that's associated with the Allergan implants?
Yes, so studies have revealed that there's a particular cancer associated with these breast implants, and the acronym for it is BIA-ALCL. And the BIA stands for breast implant associated lymphoma. So it is a particular cancer that's only associated with breast implants, and in particular these textured breast implants. That's what the Allergan implants are. I think it's also important to say as well, it's not just breast implants, but also the breast expanders that people have. So Allergan also produced expanders. So if somebody's had a mastectomy following breast cancer diagnosis, they might have had expanders to expand the breast tissue ready to fit an implant. But women who have had mastectomies have been also fitted with these textured breast implants. So somebody who's had cancer has then been fitted with a textured breast implant that we now know is linked to breast cancer.
It's making me feel really upset. That's awful.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's horrible.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It is awful.
What the hell? That's awful.
Well, I can see.
How can they do that?
No,
I know.
I know. And I could see why that would really impact on you, because you've had the fear of that, but that fear must be even heightened even more if you're somebody who's had a diagnosis of breast cancer.
Honestly, gobsmacked. That's like obviously like the fear that I've felt, and imagine actually having breast cancer and being cancer free, and then having this cancerous product being inserted back into your body, posing the risk.
I know.
Again.
I know. I can't begin to imagine what that would be like in that knowledge.
That's actually awful. Isn't it?
Yeah.
I feel so passionate about it. I just think it's absolutely horrific.
But also, I think it's important to get across that it can go from one end of the spectrum in terms of us helping people that have had the cancer diagnosis, right to the other end of the spectrum where, we can also help women that don't want to live with that fear. And essentially, I've had clients describe it to me like living with a ticking time bomb. They don't want that. So we could help those women as well in terms of trying to help them get compensation so that they can then afford, if they might not otherwise be able to have those implants removed and hopefully get peace of mind for them.
Yeah. You can't be living your life in fear.
No.
What evidence and information do you think that women should gather before making a claim?
I think the most important thing, the singular most important thing that somebody could do to help accelerate the process would be to obtain their product labels or the operation notes from the clinic where they had the surgery itself. The reason why the product labels are particularly important is because they contain the information that enables us to be able to find out whether or not the claim is still in time for this 10-year long stop limitation period. And in addition as well to confirming that it is the Allergan implants that they have had implanted. If, like we touched on earlier, the clinic is no longer operating, in other words, if the clinic has dissolved, which is what happened in your case, Amy, the patient or the client can actually go to the GP surgery as well to try and get the information from there, at least to find out whether or not they were Allergan breast implants. So if the clinic's dissolved, first port of call would be the clinic itself. And if that's no longer trading, then go to the GP surgery and find out the information that way.
If the clinic is dissolved, like mine was, and you had to obtain the information from your GP, would that just have the basic label of, yes, you've got the Allergan implants, or would it have like any manufacturer notes or anything on it?
I suspect 9 times out of 10 it will just have the fact that they were Allergan implants, which then it's not impossible for us to try and narrow the implants down to a particular batch with the manufacturer, but it wouldn't be as easy for us to identify the limitation date, but there would be a way that we would be able to do that, or at least narrow it down to a certain time period. And I think another option as well is if you know the surgeon and the surgeon's name that performed the surgery, it's also worth checking whether or not, whilst you might no longer be at the clinic, sometimes surgeons have their own personal notes as well that they maintain. So it's probably worth checking with the actual surgeon as well as to whether or not they've still got records.
What would you say to somebody that felt like they were embarrassed or overreacting?
I would hope that having done this vodcast with you today, Amy, that somebody would actually, who might be feeling like that, would feel less like that having watched that today. I would hope that somebody would recognise that at Fletchers we're approachable, we're understanding, and we're actually quite caring. And we would never want anybody to feel like that when they're going through such a difficult time emotionally, but also perhaps physically, and perhaps daunted by the legal process. I would hope that today we kind of strip back and strip away any of those fears. But I certainly think in relation to overreacting, I don't think when it comes to these particular issues that's a thing at all, because, you know, we're talking about someone's health and the potential to have implants inside you that might cause cancer. And I don't think there would be any element of overreacting in relation to that, in wanting to have those removed.
I agree. It's like, it could be life or death, couldn't it?
Yeah.
And I just think it's so important, even if you don't have symptoms, like I didn't have symptoms, to get checked.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know. And it's for peace of mind. And if you do have those implants in, it's better to be safe than sorry. I just don't think anybody, especially yourselves, like you can tell that you actually do have a lot of care and compassion, especially like on this topic.
Yeah.
And I feel like people would feel very comfortable to, like, I feel very comfortable speaking to you about it. And
Yeah.
you've got very good advice. And I don't know, I just think you can never, ever, ever overreact in these situations or be embarrassed. Like at the end of the day, there's so many of us that have been through the same thing, and there's a lot of women that are currently going through it at the minute. And who do we talk to? Like you are the person that we have to talk to, so we should be doing so.
Yeah. Amy, what message would you like to share with women that are experiencing similar issues to yourself? What advice would you give to them?
My advice to women that are in fear that they might have the Allergan implants fitted would be to ask questions firstly. Don't feel embarrassed. Reach out to someone like yourselves for legal advice, but then also make sure you have the emotional support around you as well. It can be very daunting and a very scary thing to even think about, let alone overcome. And I felt a lot of I felt like reaching out. I have a social platform, I have followers, and I wanted to get my point across to other women. But by doing so, I also had a lot of women reach back out to me and let me know that they'd been in similar positions. And speaking about it made me feel so much better.
Yeah.
And just don't suffer in silence. Don't feel like you're overreacting, and don't brush it under the carpet, because as we've spoke about today, the sooner you start asking questions, the better.
Yeah.
Because you only really do have a certain time period.
Yeah.
If it's just, we live in a crazy world, and you've really opened my eyes today. So yeah, that's probably the advice that I would give if you'd agree.
Yeah, I would completely agree. So how can awareness and openness help others, in your opinion?
I think it's so important to be open and spread awareness about this topic. I just think I had absolutely no idea that I had these implants inside me. And by me sharing it on my social media platforms, I didn't realize how many other women were also clueless. I feel like I felt blindsided, and all these thousands of other women also feel blindsided. I just cannot understand how these companies and surgeries feel like they don't have a duty of care to inform people that they've got these toxic implants in. I feel sort of like a sense of almost gratitude that I've been able to make loads of other women aware of this. And just from posting on my social media, people have been contacting the surgeries, contacting the doctors, seeking legal advice. I'm still getting messages today asking me questions. And obviously, I'm not a solicitor, I'm not a surgeon, I'm not a GP, so I don't really know the answers to these questions. But if I can help by advising people on the right places to go, where to be asking the questions, what can be done, like how the situations can be helped, then I just think the more people that know about it, the more people that really, I know it sounds dramatic again, but can be saved.
Yes, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you're not aware, then how would you ever know? Like, people have actually died from these implants. There's been deaths.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. So yeah, the more people talk about it and the more people that shout about it, the more of these implants that we can get removed.
And particularly in situations like you've identified where your clinic has been dissolved, which sadly happens a lot nowadays. Those women won't have been contacted and they won't know necessarily. So even more so in those situations where, you know, they might not know, like you, that you had those implants and that they have been recalled because of these risks with breast implant associated lymphoma.
This problem, is it something that's just in the UK or is it worldwide?
It's worldwide, unfortunately, Amy. So at Fletchers, we're already in touch and liaising with lawyers across the globe. So I'm in touch with lawyers that I know in the US that are dealing with the litigation. And we're also watching as well what's going on in the Netherlands, because there's litigation going on there, as well as many other jurisdictions, but they're just two in particular that I'm working with closely in relation to this.
Wow. Do you know, obviously you mentioned the Netherlands. We were part of Europe, weren't we? And now we're not. So will that have any effect on anything to do with the UK or?
Not directly. So it won't have any direct effect, but any judgment that comes out there would be helpful in our jurisdiction if that was supportive. Yeah. Yeah. But either way, it doesn't have a direct effect. So if it was, for example, successful there, it doesn't guarantee us being successful here, and vice versa if it lost. But, you know, it might help one way or the other as well. So it would certainly, we watch with interest is what we say.
Yeah. What should women do when they're not sure if the implants are Allergan?
Well, the first thing that they should do is actually, quite often patients are given patient information cards, which would have the product labels attached to them or the product information attached to them. So if they've got any paperwork at home, check that. If they haven't, then the next thing they should do is to go to the clinic or the hospital where they had the implants implanted and request the hospital records. And they will certainly contain the product information. If in the absence of that, then I would say contact your GP. And also if the clinic is no longer trading, if it's dissolved, then maybe try and contact the surgeon themselves. Because sometimes surgeons do retain their own medical records. So it may well be that you're able to track down the surgeon and trace back the product information in that way.
What role in community, whether online or in person, can help with women that are going through this?
I think it plays a huge role, actually, because I think it helps for people to know that they're not alone and they're going through the same or similar experiences to somebody else. I think as well as, obviously generating awareness about the situation as well. And hopefully some of those other women can also provide some light at the end of the tunnel and some positive stories when, some people might just be in a world where they're just frightened, and to know that you're not alone and that you have got a support network, I think can play a very important role in situations like this.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Obviously, I mentioned earlier, I posted on my social media to make other women aware of their Allergan implants, but I got so much back from the online community and I felt sort of a sense of like, I'm not the only person from posting that. Obviously, I was trying to help people, but the people also helped me.
Yeah.
So I just think the more people that speak about it, the better.
Yeah, completely agree. So Amy, I just really want to thank you for coming here today and taking part in this podcast. I think what you've done is incredibly courageous, and, it's given a platform to raise awareness of these issues with Allergan. But also I think it's very courageous and brave of you to come here. And, we've seen today how passionate you are about the area. And also, some genuine emotion from you as well, because you understand what it's like to be in this situation, having gone through it yourself. So, I just want to reiterate our thanks for giving a platform, because it is important that we have these discussions to raise awareness and to bring attention to what is going on with these devices. And hopefully today we've dispelled some myths or fears that somebody might have about approaching a solicitor in relation to something like that. And also to give some clarity as to the legal process, what the options are, where they can turn, and the fact that, it won't cost them if to pursue a claim of this nature if the claim is unsuccessful. So they can, operate or do this claim on a no-win, no-fee basis. Hopefully that helps as well. And also to raise awareness of the limitation issues. So there's so many things I think we've brought out in this conversation today that I just hope has helped one person or somebody.
Well, you've helped me to start off. Yeah, I feel like this has been really eye-opening. You've helped me, and if you've helped me, then it's going to help thousands of other women, hopefully, watching this. And I'm thankful for you for all the information you've given to me, because I felt lost, and I'm sure many other people will also felt lost. But what I've taken from this, and I think what a lot of other people will be happy to hear, is I think the monetary side of things. I think people live in fear, especially with things to do with like medical procedures, because there is a huge cost sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think the no win, no fee is just like a big, will be such a weight off everybody's shoulders kind of thing, that you can seek help, and you're not going to have to sell your house to do so. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Obviously, I just want to thank you for having this conversation with me. I feel like it's a really important conversation to have. And I think it is going to be so beneficial. Sharing this story from an emotional point of view, obviously I've been through it and so many other women are going through it, and also like a legal point of view, but you're not just legal, you also help emotionally as well, which I think is great. I think it's really important for women to not be sat in fear and not be worrying whether they've got these Allergan implants. Like, ask the questions. Don't feel embarrassed to ask the questions. You're not overreacting. Seek legal advice. Speak to your GP. Like, speak to other people. Speak about it online. Ask for questions. Ask me questions. They can come to you, you know? Like, the more people that are speaking about it, I think the better.
Yeah.
And women should be empowering other women and helping women. And I think that's what we're doing today.
Yeah.
And the more women we can help, the better.
Yeah, completely agree. So at Fletchers Solicitors, we are specialists in defective medical products and also group action claims. So I would just want to encourage anybody listening today to come forward. We're experts in this area. We can help. We understand what a difficult time it can be, both emotionally and also challenging in terms of not understanding the legal process. But I would hope that a message that anybody takes from today is that we're here to help, we're here to listen, and that you're not alone.
And obviously, the most important message to give to everyone, I would say, is to make sure you get checked, whether you have symptoms or no symptoms. Like, you don't know what's happening inside your body. So even if you don't have symptoms, ask the questions and get checked. Better to be safe than sorry.
Couldn't agree more.